is this? Freaking crap on miners season? Not only is the crypto market in massive upheaval right now, GPU stock issues are rampant, and no less than 3 major tech YouTubers took a massive swing at miners. JayzTwoCents, who we'll be responding to in today's video, actually focused on the issue and presented some well-laid thoughts. Joker Productions made valid points and then went on to be helpful with suggesting alternatives for buying gaming PCs in pre-builts. And then there's Science Studio, who just clickbaited a thumbnail blaming miners and spent literally no more than 5 seconds of content on the very thing they featured in the image. Jeez, at least if you're going to take pot shots at miners who are likely a large portion of your gaming audience, mind you, maybe do so with a bit more substance and not just get in on the meme of complaining about it. But that was Science Studio. Jay actually had legitimate things to say, and I think that at least they bear the need of a response, at least from a channel that is focused a bit on the side of mining. My plan is to keep this nearly as respectful as I did my Linus response video. I respect Jay and all that he's accomplished as a YouTuber, how he's run his channel, and the content he's produced for the community. With that said, here's my basic thoughts with Jay saying that mining is killing the PC gaming industry. I agree with him. Now let me be clear, some of the things he said, at least in the specific, I absolutely disagree with as someone who cares about the gaming industry as well as the mining industry. I make mining videos for the same reason that I believe Jay makes his videos. We care about the community. He believes mining is being harmful for the PC gaming industry, and while I see his point, I don't think that's the entire story. I think there's actually a lot more freedom in the PC market because of mining, but I'll discuss that in a little bit. But the tone he took with the video, the overall message of his communication was spot on. He's frustrated with how miners are clearing out all of the GPUs, and he thinks that it hurts the average gamer, and I completely and wholeheartedly agree with that statement. It's incredibly obvious to anyone that GPU pricing is super unsustainable right now. Stock issues are rampant, and there seems to be no end in sight. We're living in super depressing times here. I mean, we released build guides for the $500 and $1,000 price points no less than a month ago, and now they're completely out of date because you'll spend way more than what we said because of the terrible market that exists right now. And that is basically thanks to miners. Miners are the ones clearing out the shelves, buying up the stock before anyone can get their hands on them, hoarding dozens, hundreds, and sometimes even thousands of cards at a time. However, then it's super easy for you all to point fingers at me and say, "Breed! You caused this! You encourage miners! You egg them on! You teach them how to make money! You make it so that we can't buy our GPUs anymore!" I get it. I get the idea of blaming me and other YouTubers who focus on mining. But let me let you in on a little secret regarding our content, at least in particular. Real miners don't take us seriously. We're far too base level, too generic, lacking sufficient nuance to actually be helpful to any miner who takes it seriously and is running rigs that have hundreds of GPUs. And in my opinion, at least, those are the miners that are really crippling the industry. I think there needs to be nuance in what Jay is saying regarding miners. His video is too broad of a statement. He blanketly references every miner. He insinuates, whether his intention is to or not, that if you're mining with your PC, you're killing the gaming industry. I think that's hogwash when taken to apply to every miner. Obviously, there's a spectrum here, but I like to generically lump miners into 2 categories. 1, the miner who is doing this because they have a gaming GPU that can make them some cash dollar. And 2, the miner who takes mining seriously and wants to earn as much profit as possible and turn it into a significant revenue stream. Again, there's a spectrum and a range of miners, but layman's breakdown is gamer versus hardcore miner. And I think without that nuance, the railing and raging against miners comes across as too heavy-handed, too pompous, and like there's a gaming master race within the GPU community. And that's just rubbish. There's space for gamers to be miners as well. There's space for those who have a 1080 to let it mine overnight so they have a few dollars extra in the bank account at the end of the month. It's okay for you, as a gamer, to get interested in this cryptocurrency thing, for you to start doing research on the blockchain, Ethereum, Zcash, Monero, etc., and then take advantage of that with your hardware. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, even though Jay doesn't seem to allow for it with the way he talked about it. The amount of people who have come to our channel and can now afford a better GPU for gaming because they mine with it when it's not in use as a way of subsidizing their graphics card's price is actually really high. I believe that's an amazing thing for the gaming community that Jay's overlooking. Somebody can now get a 1060 or a 1070 Ti, whereas before they could only be able to afford a 1050 Ti, thanks to them being able to sell the crypto that their computer magically produces. That's a healthy thing for the gaming industry. People getting to experience the wonderful side of the PC master race of tremendously high frame rates and better quality settings, that is a positive thing. Being able to afford a new 144 Hz monitor after a few months of mining is great for the industry. That's what the average miner is doing. That, Jay, is where your audience is mining, and I don't think it's healthy to talk down to that segment. That's why we've started covering mining more. There's a tremendous space in the market to help out the average gamer who wants to make a quick quick buck and repurpose their graphics cards or give their GPUs a dual purpose. But since none of the big channels like Jay have tried to touch it, besides Linus, and we all know how that went, the gamers are stuck looking at mostly garbage channels with terrible production quality and sometimes shady advice while they're trying to figure out how to actually benefit from the mining craze. Please, Jay, don't start covering mining videos though, you'll take away all my views. As I said earlier, serious miners don't really watch my content. We're not for them. We don't cover anything in super in-depth. We give the basics and just a bit more. Our goal and aim isn't for us at UFD Tech to make the most money possible off of mining and to help you to do it too, but rather to protect and strengthen the community of the average Joe, the average gamer who is interested in mining, to keep them out of the shady grafts of the rabbit holes of the mining channels where they're going to start mining the next shill coin, or even worse, tell you to invest in garbage like BitConnect, and all doing it while they're recording on a potato webcam with terrible audio. We want to help keep the average gamer away from the hype, sensationalism, and false promises of mining, while also being realistic about the benefits and making sure they have plenty of information to go on to make the most out of their gaming rig. I honestly think this is where big YouTubers like Jay and others have missed the boat. They've looked at mining as something that's encroaching on the gaming space, something to be avoided, a quickly passing fad that will all burn out, and then we can have cheap secondhand GPUs for dope triple SLI builds. And I think that approach, that view of mining, is doing a disservice to their audience. There's plenty of opportunity to help out the small guy who wants to make a few dollars with his 1050 Ti without causing massive stock issues and crippling the market. And I get it, it's not everyone's niche. Jay doesn't have to cover mining, that's not what I'm saying. What I am indicating is that it appears that the entire TechTuber community as a whole took a negative stance against mining instead of embracing it, and are now crapping on it since GPUs are out of stock everywhere. Oh no. And while those are valid feelings, I feel like the position taken of being unreservedly against mining is an arbitrary one rather than one that's actually based on what's going on. So there's my opinions on what Jay said with regards to the gamer audience who wants to mine. But now let's take a look at the other side of the coin, the mega hardcore super overkill miners. Those balling with hundreds of GPUs in a warehouse that could fit an entire small village of cattle. Those are the miners that are killing the gaming industry. They're the ones who we need to be looking at if we're going to be pointing fingers anywhere. However, it's not just them. We also have to blame the GPU companies as well. And I'm not just talking about NVIDIA and AMD. No, this also lays on the shoulders of companies like Asus, MSI, Gigabyte, Zotac, you know, the companies that actually make the dope looking cards. The reason the farm miners are to blame is supremely obvious. They're buying all the available cards up at a time. They're buying our used cards at insanely high rates. They're forcing the whole gaming market down with their insane demand and insatiable ability to just stockpile cards. Do I think they're wrong for doing this? Obviously not. Making a lot of money is something most of us would love to do. They're simply pursuing a great investment means to make a whole lot of dough. I don't disagree with them from a human perspective. If I had enough capital, I'd likely be doing it too. But from a gamer's perspective, they've hurt my wallet, they've hurt the industry, and they're crippling our ability to play games at a reasonable price. And it's not too long until we're going to be turning into console peasants because the PS4 Pro is going to be the best bang for your buck gaming experience. Please don't let that happen! But I'm not going to place all of the blame on them. As I said, the companies that make the GPUs play a huge part in this. Now, I don't have anything more than anecdotal evidence to go on based on my discussion with people in the industry and those who work on the corporate sides of these companies. But GPU manufacturers are more than happy to sustain this. They're making killer profits. They're selling out as soon as shipments land. Selling directly to mining farms is the best thing that's ever happened to them and their product lines. Maybe this isn't the stance they've taken at their HQs and their bigwigs are concerned and the PR says that they're not for this, but from just listening to people in the South African scene, they're more than willing to sell to miners directly without hesitation. That's where gamers are getting wrecked. Having all of the graphics cards disappear before they even hit retail channels is infuriating. Retailers aren't really embracing this either. They've put order purchase limits on GPUs to help mitigate this because retailers are getting left out of the equation too. I know of a few retailers who used to have a specific brand of graphics card in stock, but stopped getting shipments once the mining craze hit because that company wanted to only start selling in large batches to these farmers. The hard-hitting reality is that it is both a supply and demand issue. The demand is coming from the obvious source, but then the supply chain is now all kinds of wonky because these card companies are abandoning traditional methods of selling their cards and going for the guaranteed cash sales that big miners are supplying. Again, I get it from a human perspective. perspective. Which deal would you take? Someone who can pay cash on delivery for 1,000 GPUs, or someone who has a net 60 credit agreement with you and you'll only get cash 2 months later? It's an easy choice. But as much as these companies make the cards that we all love, they're also the companies that are making the mining market unsustainable for gamers. And let's not even get into how screwed these companies will be if mining crashes. All of their new sales will be gone because gamers can flock to the used card market and pick up a 1070 Ti $200. And there's no chance that the Volta equivalent is going to make it worth to not drop only a couple of $100 on a fantastic card. But that's besides the point. Miners are absolutely to blame for crippling the PC gaming industry right now. There's no doubt about that. But let's also remember that this comes in waves. GPU prices will likely return to normal at some point. Anyone remember the days of the 1070 Ti launch where you could get a Vega 56 and 64 at MSRP? Yeah, that was only in October. It's not like we haven't seen normal prices in years. It still sucks, it still hurts, especially if you're looking to buy right now. But my encouragement is that you just hold out because you'll either be on the receiving end of some good used deals or you'll get a normal price GPU soon. But forget about RAM. We're stuck paying too much for that for a while longer, and we can't blame that on the miners. I do appreciate where Jay was coming from with his video. I appreciate the perspective he brought. His frustration is valid. His concern is absolutely genuine, and I completely respect that. I think, however, in that, he alienates a large portion of his audience that he doesn't need to. Does he or should he need to embrace mining? No. Just because he has dozens of GPUs from years of reviewing doesn't mean he's misusing them by not mining. Also, a criticism I've seen a few people make about his videos, which is a total trash argument, is how can Jay blame miners who have a lot of GPUs when he himself has a lot of GPUs? What a hypocrite! That's such a rubbish statement. Most of his cards are review samples that were never going to hit retail shelves. He hasn't taken anything away from you, and then the other cards he has in his collection, he bought for video projects and bought 2 to maybe 4 at a time for SLI builds. He's not bulk buying GPUs. It's a slow collection that happens over time with any reviewer. His GPU possession in no way makes him a hypocrite when he complains about miners. Get over that argument. I think, though, gamers and miners can coexist. I don't think the relationship has to be as hostile as it's been. I think the TechTuber community as a whole needs to get over this predisposition to treating mining as the stepchild to the gaming industry. I think it's a main part that's here to stay, and you can do your audience a huge favor by giving it legitimacy where it deserves it. A 1060 that's mining to help pay for your next stick of RAM because you could only afford 4 gigabytes is a hugely beneficial thing to all PC gamers, and I hope that Jay can maybe view it from that perspective instead of his generalized position against it all. Anyways, what do you all think? Did you appreciate Jay's thoughts? Agree with him? Agree with me? Think there's a middle ground somewhere? Let me know either down in the comments or over on Twitter. I am at UFDisciple. Be sure to smash that like button if you enjoyed this little opinion piece response, and get subscribed to stay up to date on all of our tech-related content. Gaming, mining, casual consumer stuff, whatever. We're not a mining channel. We're not a gaming channel. We're a tech channel, and we're going to stay true to that. Anyways, I'm Brett with the UFD Tech Channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Cheers.